Welcome back. The General Secretary of the Supreme Council of Antiquities, Mustafa Waziri, said Egyptian mission discovered more than 100 mummy cats in the area of Saqqara. For his part, of course, the Minister of Antiquities, Dr. Khalid Anani, expressed his appreciation for the efforts exerted by the Egyptian excavation work, and which led to the discovery of the deep wells comprising a number of coffins containing those mummies. Those coffins were sealed for almost 2,500 years, and to shed more light on the issue, we're most delighted to be having with us our dear guest, Dr. Said Ali Taha, the historian and the tour guide. Good morning, Dr. Taha. Let's first, before we dig into the topic, we need to learn more about the history of the area of Saqqara.
Saqqara is one of the most important sites in Egypt. Let's say you can follow the Egyptian history from the first dynasty up to the Greco-Roman, even during the Christian era or Byzantine era as well. We have some monasteries there. Let's say the kings of the first and the second dynasty, they have their tombs there, built up of mud brick. And from the third dynasty, we have that famous step pyramid. It's one of the renowned antiquities of Egypt as well. Even it's not that famous like the pyramids of Giza, but it is the origin and the first start as a kind of intent to build up a pyramid. Thanks to that famous architect. He had a lot of titles. Imhotep. Nothing to do with that famous movie, The Mummy. Imhotep, it's something different, it's a fake thing, fantasy, not reality. Imhotep became as a deified person at the end of the ancient Egyptian history since the beginning of the 25th and the 26th dynasty. And later on, he been worshipped in, you can be surprised if I tell you, they found something related to Imhotep in Pompeii in Italy, that famous city that was found under the lava of that famous volcano Vesuv. They found a statue of Imhotep there. That means that Imhotep, and even they have found a chapel of Isis as well, the famous goddess of ancient Egypt. That means our cult, Egyptian cult, being very known all over the world, I mean the ancient world at that time, during the Greco-Roman time as well. Saqqara, we have, I can't find the expression, the suitable one, that to show what is the importance of Saqqara. You follow the tombs of the high dignitaries or the high officials as well. This is very important one because all the reliefs and all the paintings inside those tombs on the walls or in the grave gives us an idea about the daily life. You can find some scenes and some reliefs talking about the daily life. We have at least 35 tombs, very well decorated, painted. The most important ones, the Mereruka tomb, Ti, Rahotep, and also Idot, a lady, was a princess, and the one was recently discovered, Wahti. This is a very important one. Even the mummies that been found there, we are not sure about if is it for Wahti or for somebody else, because they have found the coffin and the mummy, nothing been written upon. And from those writings, I can guess, I can see who is the person or the owner of this mummy or this coffin. But there is no writings upon those shreds that the wrapped the mummy itself.
So we cannot relate them to any dynasty or something?
We can relate them to that dynasty, I mean the 26th dynasty. But as you have found a lot of those coffins inside the tomb, the same tomb, and very well decorated tomb, it's cut in the bedrock in the mountain there. There are some cracks now. The restorers are taking care of this, and it's very well painted. And there is something very interesting inside this tomb. There is a statue with mustache. A man with mustache. This is very rare in ancient Egyptian time. Wow. They never grew up mustaches because never beards. All that we can see, it's a false beard, because they considered the hair as a kind of sin, as a kind of not clean, so not purified. So they had to shave. Even we can see the high priests, they shave everything, even eyebrows. And then they wear kind of wigs that we can see in the statues or the
So they
reliefs.
shave their hairs also, their hair.
All that.
But women, they
hair.
don't shave their hair.
We are not sure about this topic yet, because some of them, they get like, what we call it, à la garçon, very short hair, and they wear wigs, I think because of the heat. And sometimes you can find above the wig a little candle. It's a perfume candle. With the heat, it gives a nice smell.
Candle over the wig.
Yeah, it's a kind of like
Wouldn't
wax.
that be a little bit dangerous?
No, it's not flamed. It's not flamed. It's a kind, looks like a candle, but it's a kind of perfume, like wax, in wax form. They put it above the head, and it looks like semi-triangular shape like this. So some of the scholars, they call it, it looks like a candle. But it's not exactly a candle flame though above there. It is very difficult. But with this wax, with the heat of the, around Egypt, it's very hot weather, gives a very nice smell because it's full of incense and perfumes around. It's very interesting regarding those high dignitaries' tombs and the high official tombs. Something else is in Saqqara, it's very, very important, and it is not that famous, the Serapeum in Saqqara. It's still a big mystery in Saqqara. Because
What's the Serapeum?
Serapeum, it's under, they call it Serapeum or Hypogeum. It's underneath corridor cut in the bedrock. And those corridors, it looks like a labyrinth. You can get lost inside. It contains 26 coffins, boxes, very big sarcophagus. The sarcophagus itself about 7 tons of one piece of stone, and the lid about 25, 30 tons.
How
Imagine.
would they lift that inside? Oh, this weight being lifted inside those very tiny tunnels.
Yeah, that's things which
Looks
cause
like, and
the
even
mystery.
like a Jeopardy or a puzzle.
It
Lifting
is.
heavy weights inside
is.
a Jeopardy.
It
That
is.
would be really complicated.
It is very complicated when you go there, and you will find there is no space to fit more than 10 people around the sarcophagus. And you are talking about 70 tons. Let's say that they moved the sarcophagus itself and then they moved the lid. It's amazing. Even you can't believe that was at the beginning, this stone made, the material of the stone that the sarcophagus is made of, is not from the area. It's been brought from Aswan. Imagine, you are talking about almost 1,000 kilometers to the south from Saqqara, how they moved it, how they cut it in the quarry itself, how they moved it in the desert. Let's say from Aswan up to Giza in the River Nile. But to get it from the River Nile to the desert where it is nowadays, where it is located, it's a very massive work, amazing work, and even some people, they didn't believe this is a human work. And they employ what we can see on the website.
Why did they create a Jeopardy or a puzzle, a sort of a puzzle tunnel close to the cemetery or close to where the coffins are buried?
Yeah.
What is the target of that?
The mainstream of the archaeology and Egyptology, the answer is this is our graves for the sacred bowl abyss. That's the mainstream between the scholars.
Graves
and
for the main?
those sarcophagus contained mummies of a sacred bowl called abyss. And this abyss later on was identified with Osiris and became Serapis during the Greek-Roman time. They said that they kept
Their royalty?
mummies.
Those are royalty?
Those
mean
as a
the
kind
dead,
of
the deceased are royalty
it's
people?
a bowl, oxen. Was the symbol or the logo of one of the gods in ancient time.
But he's a human being after all.
No, it's not a human being. It's a bull, oxen.
A bull?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a
A female
cemetery.
cow was buried inside
Bull.
This,
Oh, a bull,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So they bury also the animals.
of course, couple of years ago they have found
bury
a
the
lot of
pets with
cats
the- you're right.
you can imagine.
And that reflects civilization.
Crocodiles and I think this is something to do with the cult and the religion and the civilization, of course, because this is a part of the civilization. Each
In an indication that whoever might steal that bull would be dangerous. And that's why they made it like a jeopardy.
wasn't any kind of bull, was a kind of
It's like a god.
no, a special one. It's supposed to be with some color, a special color, and with some marks on his forehead, and also in the tail. Not any one, because they eat animals' meat at that time. They eat cow meat and they eat bull meat, and but this was a kind of let's say an emblem, a symbol of that power of the bull behind, because they didn't they never worshipped the animals itself. They worshipped the character of this animal behind its function in the mythology or the cult. Let's say, for example, the cow was the mother goddess. If I see a cow naturally gives milk, the relation between the calf and the cow mother, it's something symbolizes the motherhood. And the motherhood was related with love. That's why Hathor, she being represented as a lady with the two horns of the cow above her head, was a symbol of music, love, and motherhood as well. And Hathor itself, her name means the residence or the house of Horus. Horus, the son of Isis, and because she took care about Horus when his mother left to find the parts of his body, according to a very long story and legend called the Osiris, and it seems similar to Cain and Abel story. One evil killed the good one, and then he torn his body into pieces and they threw all over Egypt. And then with the magical power of Isis, his wife, and the help of God Ra, she could recollect again those parts of the body, and she became pregnant with Horus. That's why the link between gods, when the gods being like kings of Egypt, and as a human being, Horus. And every king during his lifetime, he is Horus. And during his after everlasting lifetime, he is Osiris. So he, when the king died...
Why different names?
Because daily life, it's something like a small step, taking you to the everlasting life. That when the king, anybody in ancient Egyptian time died, this word, even this word doesn't exist, death. It means wasted. Wasted means he's moving from the east to the west. And this sun cult played a very, very strong role in ancient Egyptian mythology. The sun rises in the east and sun set in the west. Where the sun goes after the sunset.
And that's why they kept the whole body intact.
Exactly, because they believe that the soul or the spirit going to identify in this body in the afterlife. If the body is affected...
But then they take the inside parts. How would anybody live in an afterlife?
But they kept them inside those jars, the canopic jars, beside the body. There are 4 jars to keep the internals and the viscera inside, next to the mummy. They buried them as well, but separate from the body.
Why would they do that?
Because they found that those internals root the body with the passing of time. So they took them out and they took the brain through the nostrils, through the nose, so they can keep the skull or the head intact, except the heart. The heart was left in the mummy because the heart is a symbol of which we're going to face the destiny of the human being in the afterlife time. Even they imagined a kind of imaginary story that will be a kind of balance to put the heart in one scale and the feather in the other scale. If he was guilty, the heart will be heavier than the feather. Of course, naturally, but it's something imaginary. Imaginary that will, and this is, you can find it in the celestial legends as well. The path that we are going to pass to get our destiny. Those who did well, they are going to find this path like a very nice path and wide and so on. And those who did such, they are going to fall down as we have in our celestial religion. So regarding the Serapeum, because it's a very important topic, that opened the gate.
That was in that case only with those coffins, or Serapeum is located everywhere in every cemetery?
But not that size of coffins or that size of sarcophagus.
So how did we get hold to the coffins in that very complicated Serapeums?
Nobody can answer you this question because it's still a mystery. Even that's caused the what we call it spread all over the world, Egyptomania. Some people they believe no, don't tell me that the pyramid was just a grave. No, it's a power station.
So that there are still some tunnels inside our pyramids that nobody had discovered yet.
They said that, but according to the mainstream of Egyptology, we discovered everything. The last thing was done, that little robot with a TV camera that goes inside the narrow passage when Dr. Zahi Hawass, about 15 years ago, he hired a small robot with a small camera, and they did a little hole inside one of the very, very narrow shafts. It's about 30 centimeters by 40 centimeters. And by the way, Dr. Zahi Hawass going to announce a new discovery in Saqqara in the beginning of the next year. That was announced a couple of days ago. He is working with a mission, pure Egyptian. This is very interesting because all the members of the mission are Egyptian.
Great news. This is great news.
This will be related with the new kingdom.
Right.
Yeah.
On that very optimistic note, we're going to end it here. Dr. Said Ali Taha, Mr. Said Ali Taha, the historian and the tour guide. That has been so interesting talking to you this morning. Thank you so much, and you have a beautiful day. And we're going to go to a short break, and we'll come to continue the breakfast show, so stay with us.